Hello everyone, it's Mr. Caver here, and today we're going to talk about the decline of conservatism in 19th century Europe. Alright, so after nationalist revolutions have broken out in Latin America and in Greece and really just quite a few different places across the European continent, European powers are on high alert for any nationalist liberalist movements that are out there. And the reality is that this movement is growing at a level that they cannot control. So where does this begin? Well, let's start with Russia. So Alexander I, this great champion of conservatism, is dead. Unfortunately, typhus fever has a pretty nasty mortality rate during this time period, and he will die. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a clear heir. He does have two brothers, though. We have Constantine, who is the older brother. He's more popular, and he had been serving as the regent in Poland for its time period. But the reality is, he didn't really want to rule Russia. His wife, who he had fallen in love with, was not of Russian descent. She was actually Polish, and she wasn't even a member of the nobility. So in order for him to become the Tsar of Russia, he would have had to divorce her and marry someone of Russian descent, or at least a member of the nobility, and he wasn't really prepared to do that. Well, he had a younger brother as well, too, named Nicholas, and he's kind of in a weird spot, because he knows his brother is supposed to be the rightful ruler of Russia, and he kind of wants him to do it. He's more popular, he's well respected, all these things, but he doesn't. So the two of them are going to kind of be sitting here on the sidelines trying to figure out what's going on, and when they do that, the Russian military doesn't like this. They view this as an opportunity for them to kind of assert control over Russia. And this is going to be an interesting scenario. So the Russian military, inspired by their experiences in the wars against Napoleon, is going to try to assume control of Russia. And when they do that, we have a revolt. Known as the December's Revolt. This is actually an attempted coup by the Russian military to overthrow the Tsars, because everyone was just kind of waiting for one of them to figure out who the next Tsar of Russia was going to be. Well, when the revolt begins, Nicholas is like, alright, I'm in, and he jumps into the role as Tsar of Russia, and when he does that, he is going to immediately stomp out the December's Revolt. And after that, we're going to see kind of a radical reorganization of the Russian military. All the people involved in the revolt are kind of purged. And Nicholas institutes a form of kind of hyper-conservatism in Russia. You can see the quote here from your textbook, although Nicholas was neither an ignorant nor a bigoted reactionary, he came to symbolize the most extreme form of 19th century autocracy. So pretty much anything that stands for liberalism, Nicholas is going to be the opposite of that. You want change in voting rights? No. You want rights? No. You want Russia to modernize, industrialize, do those things? Yeah, not so much. Not right now. So Russia's kind of just going to be stagnant during this period. And it's going to pose an interesting scenario because the Polish, of all people, are going to rally behind Constantine, the other brother. And they actually want to break away from Russia and be ruled by Constantine. And Nicholas is not going to be okay with this. So we have an attempted nationalist revolution in Poland that was going to break away the Polish people from Russia while allowing a Romanov, Constantine, to be their king. Well, Nicholas is not going to be okay with that. It's not going to be something he flies with, and he stomps this out. But we can start to see the unraveling is taking place. Let's go to France. In France, they're dealing with their own situations. Louis XVIII is dead. He kind of dies from complications due to his significant obesity. And when he does that, his brother, the Count of Artois, who we introduced before as this radical conservative, ultra-conservative, is going to become the new king of France. And when he does that, he's known as Charles X. Well, clearly this is not going to be popular. The people of France are very much into the liberal movement of the French Revolution. So when Charles starts doing things that are directly contradictory to that by indemnifying the nobility, effectively making them immune from many of the laws of France, and punishing sacrilege with death, and reinstalling aristocratic primogeniture. All of these things are pretty much the exact opposite of everything that is liberal. The French people are livid, and they're done. So we see another revolution take place, folks, and it's the revolution iconically represented by the Les Mis musical. We're not watching it in class, but the French people are beyond frustrated with Charles. And Charles will, kind of in a weird scenario, deal with France in an odd way. So in 1830, there's a series of elections in the Chamber of Deputies, and the people, in response to the very conservative practices of Charles, will nominate and elect a ton of liberals to the Chamber of Deputies. Well, Charles wants nothing to do with this, so what he actually does is he fabricates an altercation with the people of Algeria, which allows France to invade the territory, and France wins pretty easily because it's an African nation that hadn't nearly developed enough to compete against the European powers. And in honor of doing this, Charles passes these 4 ordinances. And these 4 ordinances eliminate the Chamber of Deputies. Since they are liberal people being elected in, he just gets rid of it. And he actually restricts the voting group in France to only the wealthiest of people. Well, clearly the French people are going to be okay with this. Said no one ever. And another revolution is actually going to take place. Well, now the Les Mis revolution is finally going to reach its goal, and it's going to drive Charles X out of France. And when it does that, we are going to see a new monarch in France, someone who's supposed to be this great liberal monarch for the French, called Louis Philippe. Except he doesn't actually do it. He says he's a liberal. Says all the right things, but he doesn't actually live up to it. And he doesn't do anything to actually improve the lives of the average person in France. He does keep Algeria, because, why not? But he doesn't improve the life of the people of France. And that is a problem, because things are really going out of control in Europe when it comes to liberalism. The conservative hold on Europe is weak at this point in time. Well, what about nationalism? Well, here's where things start to unravel across Europe. So all this stuff is taking place in Russia, and it's taking place in France, and there's other issues taking place in Austria, all during this time period. And the people of Belgium are actually going to view this as an opportunity, particularly because of what's going on in France, because you have this unstable power situation with Louis Philippe in there. The people of Belgium in 1831 are going to declare their own independence. And this is independence away from the Netherlands and from the French, who each had territory within the country. So the Dutch are going to be a little upset about this. But the reality is the Dutch couldn't really stand up to the Belgians. The French are so preoccupied with the political situation in their country that they just don't really even notice. And in 1830, Belgium will declare its own independence. None of the major powers will step in, and the British actually love it because they view this as a way to kind of eliminate a little bit of the Dutch trading influence that's out there, and it opens up a great trade partner with the British. Revolutions about. So 1830 is a pretty significant year in European history because the Belgians break away, because of the Les Mis Revolution, the Decembrist revolts. And in England, they're also having their own situations. For whatever reason, we know what reason, George IV dies from internal stomach bleeding. Could be something he ate, we don't know. But it brought upon the British a new king, King William IV, and King William IV kind of inherits a new liberal parliament that comes in as well, too. And this new liberal parliament is going to start trying to pass bills. One of these bills is going to radically change the voting population of Parliament, and it's called the Catholic Emancipation Act. This will now allow Catholics to participate in Parliament, which actually opened up the door for the Irish to become involved with Parliament, and that is going to be significant for the people of Great Britain. Well, the next step to that is just opening up the actual number of people who can vote in Great Britain, and that takes place as well. The Great Reform Bill allows another 200,000 people to vote in Great Britain. While this is not universal suffrage, while this does not allow everyone to vote, it is a step in the right direction. Thank you guys, and have a great day.